of preprint servers is actually increasing. A study by Abdil and Bleckman showed that the number of submissions to bioRxiv exceeded 2,100 in October 2018, with 1.1 million downloads in October 2018. 2/3 of preprints posted before 2017 were later published in peer-reviewed journals. Another study has shown about 42% of all the preprints in bioRxiv have been published in a peer-reviewed journal. And here you can see the destinations of the various preprints and where they end up. Another way of looking at the power of science is the fact that we have heroes of scientific integrity. Elizabeth Bick is a full-time investigator of scientific integrity and the public face of image sleuthing. On a given day, she scans dozens of biomedical papers using her eyes, looking for instances where images have been reused or reproduced as if presenting results from different experiments. She can also identify parts of images that have been cloned, flipped, shifted, or rotated to create new data. She's a super spotter. In one study alone, she analysed over 20,000 biomedical papers and identified problematic duplications in roughly 4% of them. You can follow her on Twitter. Retraction Watch, another power of science, maintains a database of retracted papers. The top 3 papers in their database are shown here. The second paper you might recognise. This is the now infamous study by Wakefield et al., which linked autism to vaccination. Before it was retracted, this paper had been cited 642 times, and since it's been retracted, the paper has been cited 780 additional times. So far, about 72 papers have been retracted that deal with COVID-19. The speed of publications during the pandemic is notable. In May 2020, it was estimated that the COVID-19 literature published since January has reached more than 23,000 papers and is doubling every 20 days. It's among the greatest explosions of scientific literature ever. And a Dr. Sherry Q from the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center has said, the quantity of new information is daunting. It's like what you would get in a medical conference that used to happen yearly, now that's happening in a single day. There's also been a large increase in the number of COVID-19 associated research publications that have been retracted. The Retraction Watch database shows a high retraction rate record for COVID-19 related research compared with other research related topics in viral epidemics and pandemics. As I said, about 72 papers have been retracted as of December 30th of this year. But another thing that's happened is there's been a call for increased collaboration and sharing of data results on an unprecedented scale. UNESCO called for countries to share data, and over the course of the pandemic, several efforts and calls for openness and speed in the review process have been made. And as you can see here, here's a timeline from Fraser et al. It shows the calls that were made to increase the transparency and speed at which people could publish their work. It's important to note, though, that when papers are retracted, especially highly influential or highly cited papers, it is newsworthy and it's of note to the scientific community. So citation managers actually record and notify authors when papers have been cited or when you're citing a paper that has been retracted. And here's an example of 2 elite medical journals that retracted coronavirus papers and how it was reported in the mainstream media. Another thing that's important to understand is that even with the vaccine, scientists are tentative. So it's remarkable the speed at which we've developed these vaccines. And the news is remarkable in and of itself, the number of vaccines that we have. But scientists will always have questions, and that's completely natural and speaks to the ongoing nature of science. So for example, concerns have been raised about the dosing regimen. So is a single dose sufficient for the vaccine? Can vaccines perhaps be mixed from different manufacturers? And this is due to shortages of the available vaccines. There are still questions as to whether or not individuals who've been vaccinated can in fact transmit the virus. And lastly is the question of whether or not we'll need additional vaccines or multiple vaccines. And this is due to the emergence of novel variants that we're seeing circulating around the world. Let's pause here for assignment 3.